horror fan. So I'm excited to welcome filmmaker Jaden Crichton to the program. Jaden, how are you? You know what? It's interesting when you talk about horror and defining horror films, right? Because there's just multiple ways to look at things. There's so many genres that have developed, right, in the past 30 years with horror.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even with this one, we're getting genres thrown at us that I wouldn't have necessarily pigeonholed the film being. But there's that many sort of ways to cut it, I suppose. But
What do you think? What do you think horror is such has developed and it's so different and depending on what genre it is?
I don't know. I guess horror's always been really culturally significant. I think horror reflects the times, and because of that, it probably leaves it open to changing as society changes, I suppose.
No, exactly. In society. So what's your favorite genre of horror films?
I'm a big survival horror, I would call it. I used to think I was really big into slashers, and I still am. I love a dumb slasher movie as much as the next horror fan. But no, I figured out it was actually kind of the survival component. I really like a good final girl having that big, that big battle at the end. And using her wits to sort of survive the killer. That's kind of what I've always been into. So.
Okay, so I am huge Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, just go to those classics in the 80s and that's where I'm at. And that's all I mean, and I like scary movie and just it kind of goes in those specific areas. But does you even go deeper down the rabbit trail as a filmmaker looking at older horror films like say in the 60s, 70s and 50s?
Yeah, I mean, I really like Psycho. I think I've seen Peeping Tom once. So yeah, I've kind of gone back. I'll be honest though, the one that started it all for me when I was a teenager, some of the remakes and reboots were coming up, and that's a big stigma for a lot of horror people is they hate remakes. But one of my favorite films ever is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, and that came out in 2003. So I love that film. I'll go into bat hard for that movie. I think it's fantastic. So.
Yeah, and they didn't do a great job in when I was a kid when I first got back introduced to have Texas Chainsaw 2. I watched it finally from beginning to end because it ended up almost getting a rated X rating. If you remember that time period, it was like you in the theaters, you couldn't. They still had it in the theaters, but they made a mistake based on the whole cannibalism thing. It wasn't a crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy now looking at. Let's talk about cannibalism now, how it kind of even could be out there in mainstream further with series and stuff. It's just crazy. All right, let's go to the major. So, what inspired you for the major behind the matriarch?
Yeah, so the matriarch was actually conceived as part of a competition. A buddy of mine sent me through a link for Monster Pictures, which is a distributor here in Australia. They had a competition going called the Pitch Initiative, and it's designed to bring sort of up and coming filmmakers into the game. The competition basically called for entries to create a pitch for a genre film surrounding the theme mother. They just gave you that buzzword, mother. So that's kind of what it started at all. We actually wanted to go one step further. Instead of just pitching a log line, we decided to make a spec trailer. So we shot something for a couple of days and sent it through to them. We got into the top 20 finals, and yeah, we even though we didn't win, we sort of thought it had legs from there to develop into something further. So all started from that word, mother.
Okay, it started from mother. What is that? Do you have a good, when you think of the word mother, does it make you smile? Does it make you angry? Kind of looking
No,
at
no,
how you're developing. Go ahead.
I have a very good relationship with my mother, but look, I think family is every single
A
person on
horrid
the planet is
itself
raised
at
so
times
different.
family can be. Yeah.
So, but no, I was inspired a little bit. I mean, the logline came to me instantly. I was like, "What's the scariest thing? Is your mum, not being the protective figure that she's supposed to be? That's terrifying." But there was a Netflix documentary about a young girl who was basically abducted in plain sight, and the mother actually sided with the perpetrator of the little girl, and I I was pretty inspired by that, to be honest. It was, not directly the same as what this film is, but I always found that so horrific. This little girl went through hell, and the mum just completely endorsed it. And what's scarier than that?
All right, so tell me about specifically enough your challenges to being a first time director.
Yeah, I mean, probably the same challenges that a seasoned professional runs into, I suppose. It always comes down to budget and time. But because I self-funded my movie, so we shot it for $40,000, and look,
Wow.
most of that money just went into paying people the bare minimum just to come and hang out with us for 3 weeks, just so they could afford their rent. Not much actually went into the film itself. So that was a challenge. It's just keeping the mentality really really high, because I was sort of wearing multiple hats. I had to be the producer as well as the director, so keeping the mood high but also getting the work done, and bringing it on time and on budget.
And bringing it on time and on budget, talk about that challenge.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, look, it all starts with having a good team. The team all knew what they were getting into. They knew it was going to be very long nights, I should say. They knew it wasn't going to be your standard 8 hour shoot. There were days there that we were shooting sort of, 14, 15 hours because we had to. So it all started with a good team, but look, it was tough as well. We were also doing mostly night shoots, so everybody's sleeping pattern was complete disarray. We only had Juliet was a child actress, so we obviously had legalities around filming with her. We couldn't keep her on set for more than X amount of hours at a time, so that was a challenge. But again, really good people. She was quite happy to be on set, even when she wasn't working. She would often sneak back onto set and help us clean blood off the walls. So we just had a really, really good team, which was a blessing.
So tell me the premise of the film.
Yeah, the premise of the film is a 13-year-old girl who kills her mother's abusive boyfriend in self-defense, and then she is subsequently terrorized by her own mother. So, yeah, the mum, like I said, the protective figure, isn't so in this movie.
See, and this is a lot of people see this in the family that somebody in their family terrorizes somebody else. And it's terrible. And there's nothing we can do. So a horror movie can really mirror reality in so many ways.
It
This could
can, and
really,
they're the ones that I gravitate towards, I think. You asked me before sort of what my favorite sort of subgenres are. I'm not particularly scared of, ghosts or demons or anything like that. I think there's a lot of horror walking the earth, and yeah, I think it makes for some really compelling cinema.
it makes it compelling. It makes it interesting. And you think about this, and I guess you got to see the film to see this, that mother has a lot of baggage herself, I'm sure. Right. That usually
Yeah,
happens.
little cocktail of mental health and substance abuse, and we delve a little bit into that in the film. We try not to go too heavy handed. We did want it to be an entertaining ride as well, but there's certainly some unchecked mental health there, which if that happened in the real world, something like this potentially could happen, which is terrifying.
So tell me feedback you've been getting so far. People watch the film.
Really good critical response so far. We've been over the moon. We actually got a 10 out of 10 review from, oh gosh, got me on the spot, gun to my head. I can't remember the publication now, but I think it was Film something or other. But they put us up 10 out of 10. They compared me to the likes of directors like James Wan, who directed Saw all those years ago, and um,
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
incredible for me. James Wan was an Aussie, and he went out and sort of done it on his own time as well with Lee Winnell, and to even be mentioned in the same breath is a really really big honor. So yeah, people just seem to be lapping it up, and yeah, just getting good reviews sort of left, right, and center at the moment. I hope it continues.
You're a fan of Saw then too, right? You like Saw.
I am, yeah, yeah. Very, much like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it kind of came out when I was a young preteen, and that's when I started getting into the movies I shouldn't have been watching at that age. And yeah, Saw was definitely
I
in the
went
mix.
and binge watched all of them from beginning to end during Halloween. Vanessa and I, we went ahead and watched every, because during, that's the problem, I guess, why I'm not have nothing to watch, is that basically during that Halloween season of October to October 31st, we just watched horror movies and watched
Yeah,
every horror movie possible. And you run out of space, but we watched all of the Saws. And Costas Mandalore has been on my show 3 or 4 times. My good friend Mike Velarde knows him personally, and he's an amazing guy, Costas. And
yeah.
Costas was, and I wonder, is Costas coming back for the next Saw? I have to ask. He kind of mentioned he hopes, and he goes, and I didn't know how big a following it was till I watched all of them. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Well, he has a like the movie's been out for a little while now, so I hope there's no spoilers. But he has a little cheeky cameo in the latest one. So
Really? I didn't see that. Is
yeah,
that see? I've not seen that one. I didn't know he had a cheeky
yeah.
cameo. Okay, which one was that? Saw which one?
I think that was Saw 10. I think that came
Okay,
out last year.
but was it available all on the streaming networks already? Because that might
I
be the
think it's
reason I've
yeah.
not
I'm
seen
not
it
sure.
yet.
Maybe
I'll have
Prime.
to look. I'll have to look. All right, where can we get your film? Best place.
Yeah, so our film's streaming on Prime Video currently. It's also on Google Play. It's also on Fandango. It's also on Apple TV. So there's quite a few places, which is great. Distributors doing a really good job, just making it widely accessible for everybody. And yeah, we're just hoping, well, we're fortunate to be on a world stage. It's movies at the click of people's fingertips now, which is great. So.
So your promotion, it never ends with this, then, right?
No, no, you spend, God, 3 weeks, shooting the film and 6 months editing it, and then you spend 18 months promoting it. And look, I enjoy that. We get to make up some cool posters and send it out, and just getting people to recognize indie film for what it is, which is, yeah, really cool.
All right, we appreciate it, Jaden. Thanks again for stopping by. Best place we can see the film. Do you have a website for the film too?
Check out Duck Pump Productions on my socials. You'll see it all on there. We post
All right.
everything on our Facebook and our Instagram. So
All right. Thanks, Jaden. Appreciate it.